It's Miss Smith. It's good to see you. All right, so for this activity, what we're gonna need is your visualize and describe sheet. If you forgot it, pause the video, go to Miss Smith's Google site, and under visualizing and describe, get this sheet right here. We're gonna go through it together. All right, ready? What we're gonna do today is describe this leek. A leek is like an onion. You might find it in the store, and I'm gonna give you instructions on how to grow one as soon as we're done describing what it is, all right? So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna skip down to parts. Instead of starting with color, we're gonna start with parts. The parts to a leek are the leaves, the stem, and then here is the root. Can you see the root? Yeah. Those are the parts to the leek. Let's go back up to colors. We can see different colors here. I know that you're gonna say there's two colors, white and green. Is this all white? Is it all green? No. White is on the bottom, and the green is on the top. It's on the leaves and the stem. If you look at the stem closely, you might find that there's little lines here. Those lines are kind of like little stripes. So make sure you use those words in your visualizing and describing sheet. You can pause right now to write it down or practice with a partner. The next thing we're gonna do is size. Remember, you cannot tell me it's big, medium, or small. You have to tell me how big it actually is. Is it as big as my face? Not these. The little one is as big as maybe my thumb. The medium-sized one is as big as my hand. And then the full-grown large one is gonna be as tall as, well, or as long as my arm. It can be as tall as a small tree, actually, when they start to grow. And then I forgot about this little guy right here. He is a little bit bigger than my thumb, but not as big as some of my fingers. So try to measure with your hand and your leeks. If you have one at home, you could have a potato, an onion, or all sorts of different vegetables that you can grow easily just on your kitchen windowsill or in front of a window. So I'm using my leeks today. Where can I find these? Well, you might say outside. You might say the store. But let's be more specific. Where do you find them outside? You should look for them in a garden, in a planter box, in a pot, at the store. Do you find them in the cookie aisle? Do you find them with orange juice? You find them next to the other vegetables in the produce section. Make sure you use those specific words when you're describing where you find a leek or an onion or a potato. The shape and the texture. Well, these all have a little bit different shapes because they're in different stages of growing, right? So this one looks short, but we can notice that they all have something in common. Do they look like a square? These are round. And you notice if you look in real close to this one, you can see that there's lots of layers, kind of like an onion. If you have an onion at home, you'll notice those layers too. Now, like I said before, they can grow very, very tall. So this shape is not going to be a thick shape. It's going to be skinny or thin, and it will grow long and tall. But these leaves are not just round. These leaves, they look kind of flat, right? So the leaves are flat and kind of floppy. And we can even use words when we talk about movement that they're floppy, or that they spread out. What other verbs would you use to describe a plant? Think about this. This plant is growing. A leek's job is to grow. And then when we harvest the leek, that means we pick it up out of the ground, we chop it up, put it in a pan, cook it, and then, my favorite part, we eat it. There's lots of verbs that we use to talk about vegetables that we're growing, harvested, and eaten. So pick your favorite one and talk about it with your partner. We already talked about parts, so you get a check mark there. The next thing is the material. These are made, plants are a material that can be sometimes hard to describe for like in comparison to this shirt. It's made out of cotton, which is another type of plant. The difference between something like a leek and fluffy cotton are the adjectives we use to describe it. We describe the leek as being kind of floppy, right, in the leaves. We can also talk about it being kind of smooth, right? I'm not going to get poked like if I were touching a cactus when I'm touching my vegetable here. The same thing goes for potatoes and onions. They're very smooth. Okay? The category. I already gave you a hint. Can you guess what category this is in? It's not a truck. It's not for the cars or vehicles. It's not technology. It's a vegetable. Yep, you got it. When do we see it? We can think about the word when in a lot of different ways. When we see a leek, we could think about it in terms of spring or summer. Sometimes we can see them in winter. We can see them all the time when we go to the grocery store. When do I notice leaves coming out of my little stump here? That's a different kind of question. We can measure that with our own calendars. This is 1 day old. That's it. It's very young. This is 3 days old. It's a little older, and you can see it's got a little sprout with little leaves splitting open. This one is 8 days old. That's just over 1 week. So we know that the word when can be used to describe lots of different things. We can use it to describe how old our growing little leek babies are. We can use it to describe when we see vegetables sprout out of the ground and start to grow in the spring. Or we can talk about our routine for when we go to the store, where we will always find vegetables. Sound. Can you guys guess if a leek makes a sound? I don't hear anything. But you know what? When we go back to movement, are there any movements that we do that can make a sound to the leek? Think about cooking. When you're chopping the leek, it's going to make a crunching sound, and you can hear that. When you put it in the pan, what sound will it make? It'll sizzle. And when you eat it, you'll have another crunching sound. So I'm going to say that a leek has a crunchy sound. Okay, that is our whole lesson for today on using descriptive language for your leek. If you want to grow your own leek, make sure you have a small cup or plate of water and put in just enough water to touch the roots. Remember where the roots are? Right here. Don't drown it, right? Don't put water all the way up to the top. Just a little on the bottom, and give it just a little water every day to keep it growing bigger and bigger and even bigger. After about 2 or 3 weeks, you might be able to cut it and eat it all over again. Show me your pictures of your leek so that I can see how you're doing with growing it, or if you have an onion or potato or any other vegetable. I'd love to see pictures. Till next time.